Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today's special episode is going to be an Easter podcast special, but we're not going to speak about Easter. It's just an episode to go like a seasonal episode, like we do. And today is going to be a really cool one. I'm joined with Waseem, and he was in The War Between the Land and the Sea, a Doctor Who spin-off. It's going to be really interesting. Um, he's going to be speaking about his time there, his involvement, what who he played. It's going to be really fun. So, Waseem, it's very nice to have you on the podcast today.
It's great to be with you. Thanks so much for having me.
It's going to be really fun. So, I guess how if you just wouldn't mind just doing a little brief introduction of yourself.
Yeah. I am Waseem Mirza. I play the UK newsreader in the War Between the Land and the Sea. And for those that haven't seen it, it is a Doctor Who spin-off series, which carries on from the last time we saw the Doctor regenerate, before the cliffhanger that we all saw in the summer of 2025. And this special limited series is spread across 5 episodes, and it's really seen as the final um, tranche of episodes, ending Disney and the BBC's very successful tie-up together. And yeah, it was a real pleasure to be involved.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed the whole thing. Um, for me, I feel like that was the highlight of the partnership for me. I enjoyed it more. I mean, I liked it all, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more. I love the music. Um, like we all love Murray Gold, but Lorna is very good at the music.
Absolutely, absolutely. Lorna Boff, just incredible music. Always has been,
Yeah,
but there was something very, very special about this one, and the work that he did, and all of the orchestra in Wales that BBC did for this was truly on another level.
yeah. Because basically, but I think, but I'd be right in saying that Barclay's theme is basically the intro song. Which I will say that's probably one of my favourite, like probably music of it. But it's very good. Like the tone of it is really good as well, I find. Um, and yeah, it's really good. Um, so how did that all come about? Would you mind like just talking about like how did like the news, like your part, like kind of come?
Before I even knew what the part was or whatever, uh, I had no idea the show my audition was going to be for. I mean, I remember getting the message, a voice note from my agent, Natalie, who simply said in a few words that a tape request has come in for you. They've seen what you do. They'd love you to put it down on a tape, and I'll get a script over to you. I looked at the script, didn't think much of it because I couldn't tell who it was for. A lot of the key details had been redacted, so I had no idea. Um, so yeah, even the character names, and yeah, of course, there's a lot of secrecy behind big budget shows such as this one. Um, a lot of money's been spent by a lot of different parties, and so they've got to keep the element of surprise come what may. Um, and it certainly did have that effect on me until I got the message that I'd got the job, and an offer came through, and even then it didn't really sink in the gravity of the news. I didn't really, for instance, learn it was a Doctor Who spin-off until I'd started digging into it a little bit more. After I'd got the contract, it mentioned all the various different parties like Bad Wolf, the amazing production company, and then it became clear what this was. And yeah, it blew me away. And I'm so grateful for everything that it's done for me and opened up.
Yeah. So Well, that was really fun. Um, like I bet it must have been really fun to do because I feel like it kind of centered itself as its own show. Like I know it's part of the Doctor Who universe, but they kind of made it like it was almost
Its
like
own.
its own,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, they I mean, it's just fantastic. And to think that Russell, as he's said so often in interviews, that um this was his first idea. The rest of the Doctor Who seasons and the arc for those came afterwards. And it's even more surprising in my mind because what you've got here, it feels like a its own universe in a way. Um, yes, the Doctor's always important. He's got mentions through key moments in the season of the war between the land and the sea,
Mm.
um, and mentions quite importantly by Gemma Redgrave, who played brilliantly
Yeah,
throughout. And yeah, it's one of those things that could land on its own as a series on its own, and you don't necessarily have to have known or watched Doctor Who at all to understand it. But yes, it would help because it is focused on unit and this force that has to almost take over from the Doctor's absence and try to come up with a way to save the world from impending doom.
yeah,
And my role in this was playing a journalist, essentially a UK newsreader for a fictional channel called UKBN, which stands for UK Breaking News. And that's, in a nutshell, what the whole job involved, me breaking the news at various important points throughout the whole series of 5 episodes in a slow reveal, um, and then reacting dramatically to the shocking news that comes up later on in the series. And I'm essentially the on-screen broadcast journalist who frames this whole global crisis that's unfolding before our eyes
yeah,
for the audience. And that was, in a nutshell, my job, reporting on this escalating conflict between humanity and the ancient ocean species at the heart of this whole story, which is absolutely such a privilege to be a part of on so many levels. I mean, I've grown up at school being taught about the dangers of climate change and that we've got to do things differently, and then the world not listening, not taking any action, seemingly, or not enough. Um, and here was an opportunity to play such an important, pivotal role in a series that champions our climate and our humanity. And it really should be a wake up call to a lot of people, if I'm honest with you. Um,
yeah. I do
I
think so.
yeah, I hope it will be a huge wake up call for a lot of people.
Yeah, because I feel like stuff like this happens a lot. Like for the example of the secrecy, obviously of the government in the war between, like kind of trying to destroy another species behind everyone else's backs.
Yeah,
Um, and of course, in politics, not everyone's truthful. Um, and yeah, politics or not, not everyone's truthful about everything. Like for example, COVID, government, parties. So that kind of brings to light. I mean, maybe that was one of the things that got Russell and Pete maybe because I know Russell's quite invested in politics himself.
mm.
So maybe that was one of the signs. Maybe.
Yeah, possibly. But I know that it's been a struggle. A lot of filmmakers have been wrestling with the idea of how do we bring across the urgency of the climate crisis in our fiction. How do we do it? And in my mind, this is the first real attempt, a serious attempt made at spelling out what it's really like at the moment and what it could be like if we don't get a handle on it. Yeah, of course, it goes to another level with the special effects and some of the characters. Yeah, it is science fiction and fantasy, but it does get across the urgency in a way like no other fiction on TV has managed to do.
Yeah, because it is a very, very serious topic, isn't it? And this sort of stuff wouldn't be in Doctor Who, um, like the
Mm,
main show.
yeah,
Obviously, there's been politics in the past in Doctor Who. There always has been, but not on this level. Obviously, you could kind of create a link between Silurians and Sea Devils, Homo Aqua,
yeah.
um, which I think that's a very nice touch, to call them Homo Aqua. Because at first, I was confused. I will be honest. I was confused on the term Homo Aqua, but then I go back and I think, hang on a minute, Homo amphibian for
Yeah,
Silurian. So they
absolutely.
just moved it around and called it Homo aqua. Um, and yeah, because they are kind of aqua beings. So yeah, I understood it. But at first, I was kind of taken back, thinking,
Yeah,
what do we mean?
yeah.
Um, and then there was a joke in there from Barclay at one stage, which kind of probably what everyone was thinking of the term at first, obviously. But yeah, but But yeah, I feel like I do love the design of them.
Do you know what? I have to tell you about this little story. Something that happened to me on my first day. Um, in fact, it was just minutes after I'd arrived in the unit car onto the set. Um, and I was just about walking up to my trailer, and I had literally bumped into Salt.
Mm.
And we looked at each other for what would have been like an eternity. And she said hi. And the way in which she said it was almost like Gugu, the wonderful actress who plays Salt. The way that she said hi was almost akin to how she said hi to Barclay in one of the scenes in The War Between. And I was just mesmerized by the artistry, and the sheer effort that it took to get Gugu to resemble Salt with that amazing skin suit and the makeup and the fins. Absolutely incredible. The detail just left me totally speechless. And that's why I stared at her for so long, taking it all in. Because do you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of a character in the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And here I was, literally less than 2 meters away from her, in that amazing, amazing outfit. And it was just sensational just to see the amount of work that had gone into that. And that just put me into the right mood for what was to come.
But that's really special. Like you got that interaction. Because I think anyone would stare with all those like how amazing she looked.
Mm,
Um, because yeah, she's a very good actress. Obviously, most of us know her from before when she was in Doctor Who,
yeah,
playing Martha's sister.
yeah.
Um, it's crazy. It's crazy. How different she looks now, and like from back then. But and then you've got Barkley again. Obviously playing Lonzo from years before. So it's actually quite cool that I don't think no one believed it at the time that they were just coming back to play new characters. I thought I think maybe a lot thought maybe Russell wasn't being so truthful there just to try and get people excited, but it was right. So yeah, I feel like they are very good. They are very good characters.
Yeah. Yeah, that for me was a one of the small highlights of my time there. Having that impromptu encounter with Gugu and her character in
Yeah.
full costume, that was just a sight to behold. I was just left totally speechless. And so I knew how special, from that moment, I knew how special this was going to be when it had all come to the wicket on telly. And it did not let me down. as I'm sure a lot of people will agree with.
Yeah, I think it's very good that how energetic maybe her high was just to you, as it was to Barkley,
Mm, mm.
or
She
Russell.
was in character.
Yeah,
And I guess that's some actors like to stay in character when they're in their costume, so that they're ready for their takes and
it
their
must be hard
scenes.
though because the amount of time that takes to put it on, and then probably the amount of time that she's spending doing the same scenes over and over.
Yeah, I think she mentioned in the documentary, which is out now, by the way, on YouTube, on the official Doctor Who channel. You can all catch up with that special behind the scenes documentary about how the show made it to your screens. And in there, Gugu talks about how many hours it took to get into that suit. It was a multi-person effort. She had two makeup artists at one time working on her simultaneously, for hours and hours on end. And the early starts, the late finishes, she took it in her stride. And yeah, the results evidently amazing.
Yeah, it is brilliant, and I did watch the documentary. Um, I did watch it. And I found it quite funny that I think was it the scene that they when Barkley found Salt that it was in a pool. It wasn't in like the sea there like everyone thought. So that was something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you watch it in its entirety as a finished product, yeah, you don't appreciate that those scenes had a different reality completely, as you say, in a pool rather than a sea.
Yeah,
And you wouldn't have been any of the wiser, because if you didn't know from that documentary, because it just looks so realistic. And again, it goes back to the budget that was spent on this show. Of course, it was a partnership, lots of money coming from the private sector, and Disney's pockets helped in that regard massively. And it just shines through every scene, the quality of the production, the quality and the heart and the soul that people behind the scenes worked on day and night for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. It's a testament for their to their hard work and their artistry, really.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah, I think that was one of the moments that I had on set where I had that encounter with Salt. That for me was my special highlight, away from doing my scenes, um, because that was special for me to be really close to someone who's had such phenomenal work put on in terms of their suit, their makeup, and all the little details. As I mentioned, the fins, um, and as you saw in the documentary, you get to see how they made those fins move in CGI. Um, and it's just incredible the work that goes on by a lot of people. Some of them very unsung heroes of of this industry, and yeah, it's a testament to all the fantastic people working on this show.
but from what you said about like when it was actually talked about, it was talked about virtually at the beginning of this era, of the Disney era with partnering Doctor Who. It was really interesting to me that Russell was thinking about like Star Beast time, around the time Star Beast I think was going out. Um, they were doing it, and then they got Pete Matai because they were very happy about what he'd done with Lucky Day. So asking him to write a bit more, which I think was really good because Pete McTighe, for the most part, Pete McTighe is very good in Doctor Who, and he shows his passion for it, as well. So I feel like having, I always feel like when you involve, like, I'm sure Russell could do it all by himself, but I like, especially in the recent series of Doctor Who as well, getting like all these guest actors there, sorry, writers, and getting Pete to help as well. So I feel like the more help you get, the more less strain that you have on like maybe Russell to do it all himself.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, it was just a fantastic effort all round, and I think that Pete worked very collaboratively with everybody. That was evident from later on in my experience in last summer when I was called back for a voiceover session at a wonderful studio called Bang Post Production in central London. And yeah, Pete was on the phone with Russell T Davies and getting his take on what do you think about this line and this word and that word. Should we change it? But yeah, I was having difficulty pronouncing H2O in one of my scenes. And that there's a story that goes behind that one, because when I arrived on set, I was fine. But when you arrive at Bad Wolf and you walk towards your set, and if the War Between the Land and the Sea stage was the very last one, as I remember it, at the end of this gigantic warehouse-style building, which is the Bad Wolf HQ. And before you get there, you have to walk past all the other stages from big shows. Of course, like Doctor Who, like His Dark Materials. And when you're going past these stages and seeing the big names and the titles and what have you, it's just building up your excitement and your anticipation for when you get to your set. And that was probably the longest walk of my life. That several minutes it took, 2-3 minutes or so to walk down from the start of the building to the final stage. It took for an eternity. When I got there, I was frozen cold because they have to keep the temperature cool for all the lighting and the equipment. But it was initially filmed in the winter period, so my scenes were all done in November. And I remember it being really cold anyway in Wales for the best.
It always is.
Yeah. So yeah. So that was special. But nothing could prepare me for the moment when I walked into the War Between the Land and the Sea stage itself. When I went through those doors and looked around me, complete pitch black everywhere I looked, except to my left. To my left was the news studio that had been built from scratch. It looked way bigger than any BBC News studio I've ever worked on, for real. I'm not even joking. But then immediately I saw it and I thought, it's a bit high up, isn't it? I wonder if I'm going to be tall enough. Anyway, when it got time to shoot my scenes, it turned out I'm a bit of a shorty. So they had to get a carpenter to get some wooden platforms built pretty quick so that I could be raised up, because it didn't look right. And if you've watched on Apple TV Plus the morning show with Jennifer Aniston playing the lead anchor, it would just imagine a studio set like that. And if you're a shorty like me, you've got to find a way to get yourself up above the desk, ideally. So eventually, with the help of loads of cushions, I counted 5 cushions in the end on my chair, and that wooden platform underneath the chair. It's a swivel chair, by the way.
Okay.
And so I was balancing like this, to and fro, wobbling side to side. I was really worried. One tiny step in the wrong direction, and it would have been curtains. And that, put that to one side, that little funny moment. I began to come down with a bit of a cold. I had a blocked nose, my eyes were watery. So somebody from production offered me some honey lemon tea and got me that, and that helped. In fact, it was that and the chocolate gold coins that the unit director offered me, Louis, were the only thing that kept me going, because sometimes you need a little bit of help, and I needed it more than most at that point. Yeah, I felt like I was coming down with something. My voice was going croaky. I didn't, when you got that feeling that you're coming down with something, it's not quite there yet fully, but it's not far off.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And it's not the way you want to on such an important day. Um,
No, no, because there
but
has been
yeah,
in the past. There has been report like like on you've seen on BBC. They make the odd mistake and they think that the camera's gone and it's not.
absolutely, absolutely. And they've done that. Yeah, I've seen some of those outtakes on YouTube. They're always hilarious. Even now, looking back at them, they're funny. Um,
Yeah,
but this one, because it's a controlled environment, you're not live. So, and everybody's on your side. They want you to do well, and and it's a real team effort. And because it's not live, that sense of the pressure is off. Whereas on real news, there is no second take. That's it. Your first take was it. That's your chance. Um, and here I was with a bag of pocket tissues in my pocket and honey lemon tea in one hand, frequently taking sips of it. I then asked the director, "Can I just keep that cup here? Because I just need it frequently just to clear my voice in between the takes." And that helped me get through it and just do it. Yeah, except for the word H2O, so I had to be
oh,
brought
yeah.
back last summer to re-record that bit and add on some more bits as well for a final episode, which was unexpected.
Did
Yeah.
you did you have to memorize your lines or did you have like a board in front of you where you could
Oh
read off them?
no, there was no auto cue, and so that's the thing. Many people assume that it's going to be just like the real TV news studio. No, no. Um, there was one person that got that luxury, and that was the BBC Wales newsreader that got that chance because the production crew went to BBC Wales the day after doing my scenes. That was in the schedule to do her bits and pieces in the BBC Wales newsroom, together with the BBC News branding and the logo. So she had her auto cue, but not at Bad Wolf because that's a proper film set. Everything there is built from scratch for the purposes of the film or a movie or in this case a TV series, and can be quickly brought back down. Um, so no luxury of auto cue. I did have my printed script, and I felt it was important to give it some realism as a real news anchor would do in a live breaking news moment where something's just happened. And I think there's a clip that you can play that will come to eventually that will
Yeah.
show that. But yeah, there is a breaking news moment in the script, and yeah, I refer to my breaking news copy right in front of me on the desk, just briefly, just to give it that realism, which I don't think you'd get if your eyes were glued to the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. But if you had the if you had the choice, what would you rather? Would you rather learn your lines and do it, or would you rather have the auto cue in front?
You'd have to do both because, as any real news anchor knows, you do need to learn your lines in the event of autocue failing, and they do fail. They have failed for me, and you've got to have a backup, and your backup is your memory. So
Mm.
you've got to make an effort to try and learn them. But of course, for breaking news, that's a different story. That's already happening in the moment. You can't learn that in advance.
So that's like live, actually just happening.
Yeah, yeah. And then for that reason, you would, for realism, just refer back down to your computer screen or your copy on printed paper.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that that's the scenarios where people might go a bit wrong.
It can happen. But look what happened. Only 1 year before The War Between the Land and the Sea came out on BBC, we had the big crowd strike, computer crash meltdown that caused chaos around the world. And it brought whole TV news studios down to a grinding halt. News anchors were reduced to reading the whole programs off printed paper because their computers wouldn't work, the autocue wouldn't work, printers wouldn't work. So they were writing scripts on paper. Um, there we go. What do we do when technology fails?
Yeah, it's quite crazy, isn't it? Um,
Saw it as essentially being some kind of human lens on this unit, what I call the unified intelligence level world-threatening situation that we see unfolding on the screen, which is pollution like we've never seen it before, raining down on us. Essentially, what humanity's been pumping out to the oceans is now being fed back to us. And how ironic is that? But this sort of human lens, I think, is probably the right word to explain it. The newsreader is that human lens on this situation, translating a military and a political development into this very public facing moment. And so it's my job to try to translate what's happening to people at home without making them feel as though they're panicking, or doing my best not to create a moral panic, to keep things calm, much as real broadcasters would do during a national emergency, and it goes as part of their training. And so by using someone who was a genuinely a former news presenter in that slot, the series kind of leans on my sort of real world experience to make that fictional crisis feel a little bit more immediate and believable for the audience at home, because otherwise in a science fiction series it's very difficult to have that buy-in from the audience. Having the special effects is one thing, but then that's got to land with the audience and let them suspend belief, and I think the script does that beautifully.
I especially love the whole sequence of those shots, especially with the plastic apocalypse, because I don't think there was any new stuff in the first episode. I don't believe, because I think that was just like leading up, which was a very good cliffhanger. I think every episode has a really good cliffhanger, but with this one, like, yeah, it must have been really cool. Like when you actually watch it back, like obviously when you're shooting it, you may not be aware that you're
No,
seeing all these other things there. So
I didn't see them. I had to imagine what it would look like, and I was blown away with the final product. And in fact, my first chance at looking at my scenes was in the summer just before broadcast, where I had to come in to do some additional dialogue replacement and also voiceover for the very final episode. And that was the first time I could see what the scenes looked like. And that in itself was incredible to watch what I had done almost a year prior, to have it jump out of the screen in that way with all these special effects was incredible. And it just showed to me the amount of time, the energy, and the money that was spent on this series. And that all goes into making this show what it is.
I agree. I kind of feel like maybe the team who've done the Doctor Who, like the Walk Between documentary, must have known we were planning to do the podcast because because they've kind of timed it brilliantly, haven't they? Like to chat about that, because with the plastic, it was really interesting to see how all that come about. Like it's real plastic. It's not like CGI plastic. It's real,
It
and
was real. It hit people. Barclay's character. I mean, I've got it the other way around. Barclay is hit on the head with a real bit of plastic.
it hurt him. He said,
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it actually hurt, but he plowed on. That's what we do. The show must go on, and it did. And yeah, when I saw that for the first time during the voiceover booth sessions, and I could see on my monitor what it looked like, I thought, wow, that's amazing CGI. It's so realistic, isn't it? No, it's not. And nobody told me either. And I don't think they could tell me at that point. They weren't allowed. Obviously, there's still secrecy around the whole project. So, yeah, so it was all a bit of a surprise when I learned that it was actually fake plastic. But believe it or not, every bit of plastic that you saw, don't worry, it did not end up going to landfill. It was actually recycled. and it was of recycled origin anyway. So I think the show met and well exceeded its targets for recycling and making sure that there isn't this huge amount of waste from production that the show is espousing that we should be getting a handle on
Mm.
in the drama. So how ironic would it have been if we'd relied on a lot of rubbish and then sent that all to landfill? I mean,
Yeah.
it would have been ridiculous. Thankfully, we went above and beyond to make sure that that wasn't the case. Because the whole show had to be a model for the storyline and for the real world situation that we're facing. And yeah, a lot of love, a lot of heart, a lot of real feeling went into making this show from beginning to end.
It's really good because like for especially the part you play, because I feel like that is what Doctor Who as a whole has been kind of missing for a long time. Um, I know in the 60th anniversary there was a few new things, um, like but not as depth as maybe what your character was doing. Um, so I kind of I don't think people may not appreciate those bits a bit more because it's nice to get a bit more of like news on the show rather than it just happening and the main characters sort of sorting it out. So it's kind of making it feel a bit more real.
Yeah, I think that this series, because it's focused on unit in the war between, it's
Yeah,
this is the central human organization, and they're responsible for, you know, keeping a handle on Earth's response to what's happening um, out on the streets and in the waters, and much like it does with alien and paranormal dangers elsewhere in Doctor Who itself. Um, but having UNIT portrayed like this as this international military task force, so likened a bit like the United Nations, as it were, but with a bit more teeth. That's how I'd describe it.
yeah,
Um, Operating under the United Nations, but they're sort of a part of the UN which has got real balls to do something about a threat.
yeah.
Um, and that I think gives it this other type of grounding that is missing in the rest of the Doctor Who universe, which they really played on for this one. They could really suspend belief and let the imagination go for a bit because it was starting from this new place and a new story. It didn't have to have the baggage of having to be beholden to the rest of the Doctor Who universe, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So the pressure was off in that sense, and it was refreshing in a way. So the story could go in any direction, and it did. And yeah, you got to see a side of Unit that perhaps you don't get to see in the rest of Doctor Who.
It's a good
Um,
side I feel because
yeah,
I feel like this is Kate's best work in Doctor Who probably ever. I'd say like how her character goes, the
I
unex
agree.
the unex because I think that's the Kate people want to see more of. They want to see that more of her because at the start she was very chill with the 11th Doctor. Um, the 12th Doctor a bit more serious. 13th Doctor and I think with the 13th Doctor it went back to maybe they had their own new unit what got blown up. So and then you come here and then I feel like it's brilliant. It's brilliant and I think I've met Kate Jim Redgrave and she's very nice and I think everyone's jealous of her purely because how many doctors she's met and stuff like that.
She's worked for 40 years, if I'm right. For 40 years behind the screen. Um, Not behind the screen. Sorry, I'll start that again. Uh, so she's worked for 40 years on the screen, and what a fantastic career. And I do agree with you that The War Between the Land and Sea is probably the pinnacle of her work, and it's just incredible performances that stay with you. And my favorite scene is what happens in that very charged moment where her partner, um, fellow commander Ibrahim, um, is shot in one of the episodes, and the work that went around that is incredible. I watched it back on the documentary as well. It all made sense how it was all filmed. Incredible work, and I don't want to spoil it for those that have yet to watch it, but at the end there is a brilliant scene featuring Kate. It's absolutely incredible, and some might say it's a bit too, it's talking down at us and it's telling us to do something, but that's what the show is all about. It's about
Yeah.
positive change. So, and it's perfectly in keeping with her character.
Yeah, I think that scene in particular kind of leads back to maybe the plastic apocalypse a little bit. I do laugh at that scene a lot though, because you just don't expect it. I mean, we were told of the scene at the end, but we wasn't told of what it was. I think a lot of people thought it's gonna be, I don't know, Biddy Piper or something. A lot of people were convinced of that. But then it was Kate, and you're thinking, okay, what's going on here?
They
Is
weren't
she
expecting that.
Kate the Doctor now?
Ooh, who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, I did enjoy
I think
that.
she would make a brilliant doctor. I think she would
Yeah.
anyway. That's
I
my
think
personal
I
opinion.
think she would as well, and they do have a habit of going back to people that have been in Doctor Who, so
Yeah,
you never know. Um,
yeah, yeah.
but before we get on to the next part, I just wanted to ask, so other than the shots that you took, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have seen like any other thing else apart from the shots you took and the scenes around it.
Before the show was put out,
Yeah.
I didn't get to see anything other than meeting Salt's character fully costumed in the way that she was, and all of practically most of the scenes that I had filmed the year prior. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was literally a surprise. I was watching with fresh eyes, just like the majority of people were.
Okay.
That scene was quite special, wasn't it? Because the amount of work that went on with that in terms of CGI and special effects was insane. Um, People will have known watching the documentary, the behind the scenes of the show, the amount of work that went on. But yeah, incredible. I certainly didn't expect that to happen at that point in the storyline. Um, and
Yeah.
the way that it was told, it was dramatic, it was shocking, and you saw her face, Barclay's daughter, just in shock, utter disbelief, and that's how we all felt. I remember watching that scene, and it was incredible. And the special effects were really, really something, weren't they? Um, this was not far off watching a big blockbuster Hollywood movie. That kind of level of detail, and you saw the Homo Aqua, and the destruction that was caused by that bomb that was set off um, deep underground. That was incredible. That the work that went on there. Um, yeah, uh, that, that that for me was one of the highlights um,
I
of the
agree.
series. I think that the work behind that, it all paid off. Hats off to technical teams and everyone involved with that. It was just incredible.
Yeah, because obviously I think I'm I think that was episode 3. I think that yeah, the deep
Yeah,
episode 3.
yeah,
So uh, obviously in UK that they released as doubles, didn't they?
yeah,
So I do feel though if it wasn't a double, everyone would have been like, oh no, what's happening? We've got to wait. So it was nice, but yeah, I didn't expect that either because I thought the what was happening because I think we saw what was happening to Colonel Ibrahim first,
yeah,
and then you get all this happening right at the end. Like I didn't expect that, but that whole sequence, right, was beautiful. Of like Salt, like literally going and saving. Like you see all the sea. Um, I was unsure though at that moment. I was unsure if the rest of the home Maka would actually go because I thought it was a whole bubble, wasn't it? They were in. So, but obviously the bomb kind of exploded that bubble and destroyed them.
I think it's doubly incredible given the fact that uh, these were episodes that were filmed under inc intense, incredible pressure, compressed schedules, as they call it in the industry. And yeah, a little over a year later, it's already ready to go. That's incredible because those scenes there that we're talking about, they remind me of other science fiction movies that have taken years to bring to the screen after having been filmed. So I was just in awe of the incredible work. But I think it goes back down to what Dylan Holmes Williams and Pete McTighe were talking about in the documentary. That it's just the team working on this. There was just so much love put into it, and it shows. It literally shows in every frame of the story.
Yeah, I love like 73 Yards, one of my favorite episodes. 'Cause I know Dylan is the one he kind of directed that, so I it's one of my favorites. It's kind of a mixed opinions probably within maybe some people because they don't maybe understand it, but I think that's the best thing about it. So I love that one. And Lucky Day for me was from like going to Pete McTighe. Pete, that was one of the best episodes of series two. Um, with Disney, I loved it. Um, um, but yeah, um, a point that someone made to me, they said, "How did Conrad in that episode not know?" But I think the whole point he was lying, so he was lying. Of course he knew. Um, but yeah, those episodes in particular, from those kind of showed probably why they worked on the Wall Between because they'd done so good before.
Yeah, yeah. But it's funny, isn't it, how you can really change a story in subtle ways like that. And it just feels so different to the rest of Doctor Who, even other Disney Doctor Who's. Um, this just felt so different. I think it had the production qualities of a movie. Every episode felt like a movie.
Yeah,
And I think that is increasingly the challenge for a lot of TV drama now. Um, how to get that cinematic look for every episode in a shorter amount of time.
yeah.
And hats off to everybody. They pulled it off, and what a fantastic job they did.
Because
Um, yeah,
there's a thing on TikTok where I don't know if you've seen it, why like people think something else is a movie, so that they'll post a clip of something, and they'll think it's a movie,
yeah,
and they do quite well. So you have all people from different countries probably seeing it, or probably seeing it from the UK,
yeah,
um, and seeing it. So it's done really well, not just over here. It's done well everywhere. Um, and I feel like that's brilliant how good it's done because I feel maybe I don't know. I don't know what the guys making the show what their expectations were, but I do think they've gone past probably maybe the expectations. Maybe they thought maybe, but it's very good.
yeah.
I loved it.
I think they surprised a lot of people. And dare I say it, they surprised even Disney. Who knows? Because the ratings have been exceptional. I mean, this was, let's not forget, one of the biggest drama launches on the BBC for the whole of 2025. Um, and having millions and millions of viewers spread out over the 5 episodes was a great achievement, given that it was up against major slots from I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah,
That's right.
it started
Um,
on the airing. Oh no, the final, didn't it?
yeah. So it did exceptionally well considering the slot it had to contend in. And I think everybody could be so proud of it. And don't forget, we've still got um, the physical media launch, Blu-ray, special steelbook. I've got my order in. I have actually. And it's like it'll feel like a sort of a memento to keep of my time on it, and that's why I've
Yeah.
got a steelbook and a Blu-ray, a regular Blu-ray as well,
Yeah.
on order. And yeah, and of course you've got Disney Plus bringing it to a wider audience this year. Don't forget they have to run it sometime this year, as
Yeah.
per the deal. So hang on in there. If you're outside the UK, it's coming soon.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. It's not there yet. But my prediction was March. So obviously for people listening and watching that right now, it's April. So it might be out right now, but for right now, my prediction was March. If it's not out in March, I'll be slightly surprised.
Mm.
But because yeah, I had a friend that because they recently finished watching the main show Doctor Who, and then they saw a scene. You know when Kate's going to kind of the memorial kind of thing of Colonel Ibrahim, which is a very nice board with all pictures of him. But my friend, they saw it on there and it's like, oh no, I've just spoiled it for myself, obviously, because they're in America, right? They're spoiled. So it's a shame. It's a shame that they didn't just release it altogether. Um, but that is a shame. But hopefully soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I was a betting man, I would probably say yeah, sometime in March, um, or early April.
Yeah.
That it could find its way out on a global Disney Plus release. Makes sense.
All at
Having
once, I reckon.
really, yeah, absolutely. Just after the physical media is launched, I think they'll give it a few weeks run up time um, before launching on streaming.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it'll be great. Of course, I know, yes, it's a long wait for people internationally, but it's well worth it. Quality of the production, the story, it's unlike anything else you've ever seen in a Doctor Who series. Hand on heart.
Yeah. Like part of me felt that UK wouldn't have got it next year, till next year. Part of me feels that maybe we got it earlier because I don't know, maybe because the deal stopped, maybe, and they just wanted to get it out. Um, but I do think if they were still together, we maybe because um, of everything like with Shooty Gap would not being a doctor, maybe it would have been a release for everybody next year if we're all kind of as a collective still the partner.
It's possible. I mean, I will say this, that it was a complete surprise that when I learnt that it was going to be aired in early December. That came as a surprise, and I thought, oh, okay, we better get ready then. Oh, and now we've got all these requests to go to different BBC radio studios talking about my time on the show and what I got up to. And so it was a whistle stop tour around the country in record time. In fact, I ended up with a flu up in Lincoln, my old student city, and yeah, my university actually took me in. Oh,
Oh,
poor soul. Come on over. And yeah, and they said, okay, can I borrow some space, desk space, and I can do a remote interview with BBC, with another BBC studio in Northampton from here. It will save me having to go from Lincoln
oh,
down south. If anyone knows the journey from Lincolnshire, it's always a struggle. So that's why I was so relieved that my University of Lincoln, they let me stay up on the third floor of a library building in the warm on a very cold and wet and windy day, and
oh yeah,
I could do the BBC Northampton interview remotely, which helped me so much.
yeah,
I really got ill. So you know when I told you about how ill I got
yeah,
on my shoot for the War
yep.
Between, well, this was on another level. I actually got full blown flu. After I had left BBC Radio Lincolnshire, who were lovely, and yeah, so yeah, so that's a quick run through of my time promoting the show. Just when I got
Yeah.
told, yeah, it's going out 7th of December.
It's interesting, isn't it? Like how things have done, but it's it's like a common thing. So you get a little bit ill on the set, and a little bit ill when it's you got to promote it. Well, not a little bit at that point. It was quite serious.
Yeah, the best moment though, I have to say, other than of course I have to say Lincoln because they're my student city and they've got a lovely Dalek in their reception, and I had my photo taken next to it. It was lovely. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. But then one of the other really good moments was going to BBC Birmingham for their local radio station. I was on the show with a lovely presenter called Maya, and in their reception area, they've not only got a TARDIS, they've that you can actually go into. It's got a little bit of a booth. You can actually walk into it.
Oh.
They've also got another TARDIS on the second floor, which you can look up to. And if you turn your head around, they've got loads of stuff, artwork on the walls of memorabilia from different Doctor Who seasons. It's just really another level kind of experience for a Doctor Who fan. So if you live in the Midlands, it's definitely worth booking a tour if you can for BBC Birmingham.
BBC Birmingham.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's a building called the Millbank, and you actually see a lot of it from the window as well because they've got viewing windows in the shopping mall, which is called Millbank, not Millbank, um, and yeah, it's just fantastic. If you get the chance to go, I really recommend it.
Yeah. I'll definitely bear that in mind because anything Doctor Who, I'm in. 100%. Let's just watch this last part.
Oh yeah, so the last part is really interesting because this is episode 5, and I wasn't scheduled to be in this episode, and there was a last minute change, and I was asked to, as I explained,
Yeah.
to go to Bang post production in London, where I was asked to do some ADR or audio dialogue replacement, as it's known, for the word H2O, which I didn't pronounce right because my H wasn't proper. And if you've been coming down with a flu, you'll know it can affect your H sound if you're a linguist. And it did for me. Anyway, I also had to add in some new sections for episode 5, and this is the scene.
Okay. So like with H, like did you mention what did you have to say it like a certain way or something?
Yes, H2O. It's H.
So you
That's what
have
I
to say
remember. The
it.
direction was very specific. And I remember I was struggling with it at the time because I was coming down with something horrible and it affects your voice. And so I was struggling with the pronunciation of that particular letter.
Okay.
But by the time of the summer, yeah, my sinusitis had gone and it was all perfect. I got it right this time.
Yeah, you said it a few times as well.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just for added measure as well, it was the tongue twister of my time in Cardiff when I filmed in November 2024. So I'm glad I got the chance to correct it and then add some as well.
Yeah, it's like so. Did you have to redo both times? You saying H2O or just the once?
Yes, both times. Yeah, yeah. Just so that they sound the same. Because when you do ADR sessions, typically, it's very easy for a word that you've used previously to sound very different, almost as if somebody else spoke it. So typically, you have to do those bits together to get
Okay.
the right sound. So it's all part of the same thing. And I know that some of the words were changed for some of my scenes with live input from the big man Russell himself, which was a bit of a thrill, I have to admit. Having that while you've got your headphones on and you're waiting for Dylan to tell you, yep, that's a good take. And he's saying, oh, just a minute, I'm just checking with Russell. So that's really good because I never got the chance to be directed with Russell in the room. So other than that moment, so that felt good, even though it was remote.
Was that like the first time that you would have like interacted with him?
Well, I didn't directly interact with him, but he was in a way, live directing via phone, if you
That's
will.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, and that's what can be done in voice or a vocal booth, or a vocal
mm.
studio. Quite often, directors or showrunners will dial in remotely to oversee and hear um, a session take place and give their take on what's going on. So
So overall, with all your scenes, how long would you say that took to all kind of complete?
so well, after that moment was over in London, which was June, just before I had to jet off on a plane to film a documentary in Spain and Geneva. Yeah, I think that just took up until June, and that was it. In fact, I was told that there was a production lock in that month. So it felt to me like a lot of work must have taken place between the summer and December the 7th for it to air that day.
Yeah,
A lot of work. And but didn't they do a cracking job
they
given the
did.
constraints they had? Amazing work.
It was so good. Like, did you have a favourite scene?
I think the explosion underwater, that was probably one of my favorite scenes. And I think the other scene was a human one. And I think it was the cliffhanger of episode 4 at night, where you've got Salt jumping into the waters. I think that whole sequence was brilliant.
I loved that. The only thing, I don't know, I guess I was a bit disappointed into the final episode that we didn't continue from the bridge.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I kind of wanted to continue from the bridge because I was really interested to see the aftermath of all the
yeah,
soldiers.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that. Um,
But I liked it,
but
regardless.
yeah, yeah. I just loved the human dilemma that scene presented. What a tough spot to be in for the
Yeah.
characters, and yeah, I think that was one of my favorites. But I think the top prize for me has to go to that to the explosion underwater. I didn't expect it. It was just came out of the blue, and like, wow, what devious cunning that led to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, in hindsight, you can say, yeah, that the guy was dodgy, wasn't he? Um, but yeah, who's to know until it happens, and
Yeah.
that's what it's like, isn't it?
And I guess the hardest scene was it like the H2O bit.
Yeah, yeah, I do have to say because um, yeah, yeah. I think I earned my chocolate gold coins from the
Yeah.
second unit director that day.
Well, it was nearly Christmas, so I presume it because you said
I'm grateful.
a lot of bits were in the winter.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So your thoughts on the show that it was very good.
I loved it. I loved it. I was surprised at how good it was. Yeah, because as an actor, you don't get to see what it's going to be like eventually,
Mm.
unless you've been with the CGI team or the artistic team. And um, yeah, just like everybody else, I was shocked to find what a fantastic series. Brilliant special effects, brilliant story. It's got a bit of everything in it. Yes, it is science fiction, but it's got action, it's got adventure, it's got romance, um, it's got politics, it's a thriller, it's got literally everything.
Yeah, it's got everything, which you don't see until you actually talk about it, really, do you? Because you just watch it, but then you don't see all these other things. Oh look, there's that, there's that, there's that. It's very good.
There's lots of Easter eggs, so buy those Blu-rays and DVDs that are coming out
Mm.
now, roughly at the time of this
Mm.
podcast.
At the time of this
So
podcast.
yeah, get those Easter eggs, and you can see the some extended features on the physical media that hasn't been yet released on YouTube.
I will say though, something that brought to my attention. I think it was in the first episode. You know, when they were at the lagoon and Barclay's talking about, I met the doctor once. I was kind of picturing to myself, what doctor?
Yeah,
Like, what doctor are you talking about here?
yeah, yeah,
I part of me thinks, I know you're a separate character to Alonso. but maybe it was the 14th Doctor, perhaps, that you met. Um, but I think that's just the mystery of the show, and I do like that the Doctor was brought up quite a lot of times, especially in the finale. Can't have that conversation.
But isn't that the great thing about the Whoniverse in general? It's the mystery as well. That's the thing that keeps the show going, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Keeps the whole thing going. Without the mystery, there is no Whoniverse. And so having these little bits of mysteries thrown in for good measure, um, it keeps the series grounded in
Yeah.
real Doctor Who universe. And so, yeah, I think it's just a great mix.
Yeah. I mean, I guess what makes it better from your experience is that you you said that you really love sci-fi and you've always really loved Doctor Who as well. So that must just have been
Oh,
on
just a
top.
it was absolutely incredible when I found out that I got the chance to be acting in a science fiction series, one of the oldest science fiction series in the world, which is Doctor Who, and and something that I grew up watching as well. And so to have the chance to act in it, because you have to understand, I'm a bit of a science fiction geek. I'm also a tech geek in real life, so I have to have the latest gadgets. From when I was born, my mum says I used to open things up just to find out how things work, what makes them tick, what makes them do what they do, and I'd make a mess of everything around me, and invariably break a lot of things. So all my toys were broken into pieces, trying to figure out what makes them work. I was always inquisitive about everything around me, and that's probably why I was drawn to science fiction. So I'm a big Trekkie fan, Doctor Who, you name it. I've watched them all, and I love
Star Wars.
watching. Yeah, Star Wars. But I think it's my inquisitive nature about science and tech, and looking at science fiction made me look at what could happen in the future in real life, and I think that's what then made me go into journalism, and I focused on technology and science news as a journalist. And I think this year has been the first time that I've been able to combine my love of science fiction with science fact. Having done this bit of work for the Doctor Who universe, having done this bit of work for the Who universe, um, I've got a documentary that's premiering in March at the British Film Institute in London, all about AI and new technology and the dangers it holds for humanity.
Oh yeah.
Spent all of the summer. In fact, the day after I'd finished the War Between the Land and the Sea voiceover sessions in London, I was off to Europe to film this documentary on new tech, and spent a couple of months doing it. And now, finally, it's going to be out in March.
Oh,
And so
that's very good.
that's going to be really special. And then I'll be talking about AI again and robots, in
Yeah.
fact,
It's
later on in March at the end of the month.
quite dangerous, isn't it, at the moment? I think AI because I keep seeing on Instagram people post their like AI generated pictures
Mm.
at the moment. So yeah, it's a very dangerous thing, and it's good that you've had the opportunity to kind of talk about your thoughts on it.
It is. But this is why I'd love to see the Cybermen come back in a new form. In this age of AI that we're living in now, and the algorithm taking over, and robots potentially taking over, why not have a new imagining of the Cybermen?
That would be good.
That would be amazing. And I think it'd be so relevant. Again, just how masterfully the War Between the Land and the Sea tackled something relevant now. I think there's an opportunity for that. And also, video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got to tell you about my love of video games.
Yeah.
And I mentioned over on the platform formerly known as Twitter very recently, only days ago, in fact, um, that I'd love to see a video game version of the War Between the Land and the Sea that focuses on unit, so that we, the player, play the part of Kate or the Colonel or another soldier. And yeah, we're trying to save humanity against the clock when the Doctor's not around.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the social media videos that were created to give the show some extra appeal outside of the universe, those videos look like they belong in a video game. Those little promo videos, which give you a deep dive into what unit is, what's going on. You've got a bit from Kate, you've got a bit from the Colonel, you've got a bit from everyone chipping in. I think that those scenes would be fantastic in a video game.
I
Um,
I
yeah,
would love that because I feel like we've had Doctor Who video games in the past,
yeah,
and they've just been okay. Like we had one a couple of years ago, David Tennant and Jodie Whittaker. The character couldn't even jump. It was a good game though, I enjoyed it, but character couldn't jump, and but there was a Lego one in the past. But I feel like potentially, I think your idea is very good, but why not have a game where it's an open world game, but it's a single player game, and you create your own version of the Doctor. You could what could potentially happen is you start as a young kid on Gallifrey, and then you do your Time Lord training, and then eventually you have your own TARDIS, and then you fight in the galaxy. That's one idea I have, but the other idea I have is to do with Lego. So like in the old Star Wars Lego games, you have all these different like levels with the different movies. So what they could do is have each Doctor present to so you could have. I think more realistically, it would be from New Who, because I feel like if you had all the Doctors, it would be quite difficult. So it's not of, and then the selected episodes would probably be the most popular ones in that Doctor's tenure. So yeah, in each series, because they are quite. There's too many to do. So maybe have a max of. I don't know if it was maybe 5 or 6 levels in the old Star Wars games, so maybe 5 or 6 on each Doctor, and then right at the end they all come together. So that's my kind of idea. A bit like yours as well, but I do think we need something.
so I wrote a little piece about video games and TV adaptations, such as we've got some other series right now doing so well. The Last of Us, for example,
Yeah.
and these are all amazing video games. And then I suggested to Radio Times, who I contributed to for this article, that wouldn't it be great to do it the other way around? Let's see the war between the land and the sea on our video game consoles as well. And I got their thumbs up on Twitter. And so who knows? It could be an idea that takes hold. I've got a lot of support on there. And if you want to add your support, feel
Yeah.
free to join me on the socials, especially over
Yeah.
on X, to
Yeah.
get that going.
I'll definitely share
I'd
it.
definitely play it. I would definitely be a fan of it if that came about.
Yeah. Like we need it to happen because I feel like I I imagine like the war between the land and the sea is like you said, a limited series, so there will be no. I don't know. I don't.
Who
Is
knows? Never say never.
like I'd never say never, but like would it's like from your own opinion, was that just meant to be like a singular series, so there won't be no like next one?
Well, it was written to be a singular one-off series, but I think the final decision will be taken by the BBC, looking at the ratings, and that's
Yeah.
what if people connected with it, that's where they'll be led to.
Do, do you think it matters? It's a Disney kind. It's part of Disney. So do you think there's a potential for it to continue without them?
Oh, without a doubt, it could continue as a purely BBC thing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's always been a BBC show at heart, and so
That just will
I think
help.
of course it will help. More money can always be a help. Um, um, and but I think that the BBC's shown over decades and decades and decades. This is one of the oldest sci-fi series in television in world history,
Yeah.
and they've shown one thing very clearly, that even when the chips are down with a low budget, they can still knock it out of the park.
Look at Midnight. Low budget, all in one room the whole entire episode. So I feel like it works. I feel Doctor Who's at his best in those scenarios. I find, but yeah, because loads of people asking, I want more. Where's series two, Co? I want more. But I do think if there was a series two, my personal opinion when the War Between was announced was a bit like Skins, where each series has a whole new cast, other than Unit. So I think they keep Unit and maybe had, I don't know, the War Between the Land and the Time Lords. Well, no, it won't be the Time Lords, will it? But the Daleks, the Cybermen that you mentioned. So you could have a new threat every series.
That's a really good idea. Maybe you should pitch that.
Yeah, I've had that idea for a while. Um, yeah, maybe send a message to Russell.
Go
And
for it. Why
yeah,
not?
yeah. But yeah, that's what I would suggest because that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it's going to be a continuous series, which it would work very well that way. So it's not just going to be one monster, one series. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think it would.
I think there's a lot to be said for Unit, and now that we've seen this other side of Unit that we don't always see, I think the sky's the limit, literally. Um, why not have a series all about Unit and the adventures of Unit?
Yeah.
Look at what happened to Stargate. We ended up with a similar situation with that, and it went on for seasons and seasons and seasons. It was one of the longest running science fiction seasons, wasn't it? Other
Hmm.
than Doctor Who, of course.
I
Um,
I would love it.
yeah,
Like it could be. I think we need something like that. That kind of a spin off as well because I think it would be brilliant. I think if they continued it or just done something with Unit, we don't have to call it the War Between.
no, you
Um,
don't. You don't. You really don't. You could just call it Unit.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Unit. You could call it the Unit or
yeah.
whatever, but it doesn't have to have such a long
No,
name like the
Unit
original.
Adventures. Unit Adventures.
So a spin-off of the spin-off. There
Yeah,
we go.
that's right. Just the last few things
Yeah.
before we finish.
Yeah.
So just as we're on Doctor Who, if you were a character in Doctor Who would you want to play?
Hmm. Do you know what? I would want to play the Doctor
Yeah.
because I would bring something different to it. I would bring a certain inquisitiveness that only comes from a real life journalist. Um, in a way, the kind of investigative nature that you get from the actual Batman, which is being done brilliantly by Robert Pattinson right now in the reboots. That inquisitive nature about the world that we live in and not taking no for an answer, um, holding power to account, that comes from being a journalist. I would love to see a doctor that isn't actually a doctor but is probably a journalist fighting to reveal the truth about the situation we find ourselves in.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that would be a different take. Maybe a different take in the sense that it could be in a different parallel universe. So this Doctor is slightly different.
Yeah, I would love
Um,
that.
so I don't know. Is that taking it on into a multiverse situation? Maybe. And then maybe at the end, they all these different Doctors they collide and are forced to reckon with one another and their differences.
I was thinking about that, with the 70th. I had an idea where there's a game called I mentioned to you before. There's a game called Life is Strange. There's a franchise called Life is Strange, and what they've done on their last game. So basically, a character who died. So in Life is Strange, you have multiple different endings. So this character died in this version of reality, and then what they've done for the next game. So basically, they split the two realities in half, and
Yeah,
they've made the character come back. So my idea would be for the 70th,
yeah,
which would be really cool. So I imagine to the 70th, we
yeah,
would have a few new doctors. So I imagine we don't know if Billy's the Doctor or not. So we don't know about that. So if Billy's the Doctor, then the one after, and then
yeah,
maybe one more. Um, so we'd have all. So my idea
Yeah.
is to have all the really recent doctors there,
Yeah.
right? And then the gap, so the split in reality makes the other doctors come back who want to come back. So like the older doctors, maybe like Matt Smith, Jodie Whittaker. But that's
Yeah.
okay for them to be older now. That's
Right.
okay because the gap in reality kind of makes that the way. So you get older because of the split.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's different. I
Yeah.
think that could work.
Um, I don't think it will happen, but I think it's an opportunity that's missed to not have all these doctors on screen together. But while they're still here, I'd love
I
it though.
I think that would be a really good novel way of doing it. Why didn't you pitch that?
Yeah,
We've come up with two ideas in this podcast already.
yeah. Three
Let's do it.
ideas and
Yeah.
two free ideas. That's brilliant. Um, um, and I wanted to ask, what do you prefer? Do you prefer being a newsreader in Doctor Who, or do you
Right.
prefer doing it for real, like what you did before, like on BBC?
That's a tough one because yeah, I love doing it. Um, so for people that don't know, I used to do a 60 seconds news bulletin on BBC One just at the end of EastEnders during weekdays, and it was very short. And I used to stand up, wasn't allowed to wear a tie, no tie. This
Oh,
is relaxed and chilled. It's a bit like BBC Three, and yeah, and that's where the format came from. It came from BBC Three 60 Seconds News, and yeah, I loved it. Um, but I think because it's short form, TV news is very much short form. Um, yeah, it's really addictive. You get a lot of buzz out of it, but it's very short, and your time on air is quite short. Whereas, and your involvement in the project is short. Whereas in acting, especially on a series like The War Between, um, the amount of incredible work that goes on with a huge team, not just a room full of what 5 or 10 people if you're lucky. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people behind the camera, and so you feel like you're much more part of a bigger um, project, and you can just bounce off each other's creative ideas, and you've got a script that's been written for you. You don't have to write it yourself.
that's
So
nice.
there is that advantage, and you're servicing the story of the story writer. You don't have to have the emotional baggage or the pressure of telling your own story,
Yeah,
so to speak. So I think I'm really enjoying my new path in acting, and
yeah,
yeah, long may it continue, especially in sci-fi.
yeah.
So now I've got two sci-fi bits under my belt, and by the time this podcast goes out, I'll have my third, which is a sci-fi film shooting, which would have been shot at the end of February, called "Love Is Not an Emotion," filmed again in Cardiff. My only my second time in Cardiff since
Yeah.
shooting The War Between.
I've been a few times.
Yeah,
I've been probably two as well.
yeah.
I literally just go for the locations. It's quite cool because I go with my family. I have my own TARDIS book, where I've got all the locations, and I'll go somewhere. And even if you don't like Doctor Who, it's great because there's some really lovely locations that you go to. And I'll give you a funny scenario. So do you remember the episode with the 11th Doctor? It's the Hungry Earth episode, um, where you have the church in that episode. And what happens was we had no idea, but basically that church is like all the way at the top of a massive long hill. So basically, it's almost like going up on you're driving, right? And you're slanting backwards like you're in a roller coaster. And it was really funny. Well, it was funny to me because I like roller coasters, but my mum don't like roller coasters or anything like that, so she's panicking. So it was funny. But then we get up there, right? It's locked. But then we have to go to like the Holiday Inn place, basically. But to get the key. But it's lovely. It is really lovely. I do recommend going out. I don't go. See, people think I live there because I post all these location stuff, but I don't. Literally, it's a backlog of lots I still have because basically I'll go there in one day. I'll go to the numerous locations because of the limited time I have. So maybe one day I go to the Trap Street from like
Yeah.
Clara,
Mm.
or another day I'll go to a New Earth location, or another location, or
Mm.
maybe a house, Spencer Sarah Jane Adventures house, that location. So
Oh,
it's
amazing.
very nice, and also the Waters of Mars location where Adelaide Brooke basically what's happened to her. I got invited there. They give me lovely Welsh cakes,
Oh,
and it's brilliant. And so,
as lovely as
done
it
it.
is there, and they've got plenty of lovely locations. Wasn't it great to see the War Between have shot some of its great scenes in episode one out in Spain? It was
Yeah,
beautiful, wasn't it?
yeah.
And some of the opening shots, they were just beautiful. I
It
thought
was
some,
brilliant.
and
It was beautiful.
that were, in fact, if I hadn't been cast in as a newsreader, the role that I'd love to have played would have been as part of Unit, because then I would have got the chance to go on that Spanish shoot. That would have been so nice.
And player problems, didn't they? I've seen
Yeah,
in documentary they had problems. Like
yeah,
I didn't actually know that, and it nearly stopped. Like the whole production, nearly they if they didn't do that little bit.
yeah.
Um, but the most surprised I think out the whole thing in the series, I will say, is because I wasn't surprised about Colonel Ibrahim. I expected it. I expected either him or Kate, but I didn't think they would do Kate because of who she is, right? So I expected Colonel. I did. Um, I didn't maybe in that moment. I maybe thought it would have been at the end of the series.
Mm.
But the one I was shocked about was the General. I thought, surely not. Surely he's going to come up as well, but he never did. So I was
Oh.
shocked that he didn't make
He's
it.
such a lovely guy, by the way. Colin McFarlane, who plays the Colonel, he is just wonderful. And also, he's got a connection to Lincoln, like me as well. He's from Lincoln,
Oh, is he?
and yeah, and so when we met up, when so yeah, so after the moment where I bumped into Salt outside my trailer, and we just stared at each other, and I was just mesmerized by her amazing outfit. My next stop was the makeup trailer, and the Colonel had just finished his session. He looked at me, and I'd arrived in my Batman baseball cap, a t-shirt, and pair of Adidas jogging bottoms and trainers, and he said, "And who are you playing today?" And I sheepishly said, "I'm playing the newsreader." And I can guarantee he did not believe a word I said in that moment.
Well, who did he think? Who did he think you were playing then?
I mean, literally, I was a million miles away from the character at that point. Let's put it visually. I
Yeah,
did not. I did not look as though I was going to play a newsreader.
yeah, because he was quite serious, wasn't you, as the
Yeah,
newsreader?
yeah.
Um, because you probably look back at yourself thinking, I was very serious being the newsreader. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um, but last two things, and then we're done.
Yeah.
I just want to briefly talk about like obviously your Emmerdale basically because obviously the one of the persons who was in the same kind of scene as you was a person that has been in Doctor Who before in 42. So
Oh,
knowing,
really?
yeah, he
Who was
was.
that?
He played the guy that plays Caleb in Emmerdale,
Oh,
who was driving. He was in 42 with David Tennant.
oh my gosh! You're kidding me.
No, no,
Oh,
he was in Doctor Who before. Very younger though, but um, yeah, he played a
oh,
character called Riley. And
oh my God!
he was in a lot of scenes with Martha,
Right.
and they kissed at the end, Martha
Oh
and
my
him.
gosh! I didn't know that. So William Ash.
Yeah, William Ash. Yeah.
So I remember having they William Ash and John Farnworth, who I was playing alongside. Just to give you the rundown. Um, this was, I think, just a few days in between a shoot abroad for this documentary on technology that I was filming during last summer, and obviously a couple of days after doing the voiceover for the War Between's final episode. I had shot Emmerdale. Yeah, you could say what an amazing year I've had. Um,
Yeah.
so so grateful for everything, and my agent Natalie. Um, anyway, William Ash was playing the driver of a van, and he had a bit of a stowaway passenger with him. He was helping in the moment John Farnworth to get away from his terrible crimes by hitching a ride in this van and crossing the borders in the northeast. Fictional, I know. And taking a ferry to Holland and then disappearing forever. And that would be his swan song from Emmerdale. No, it wasn't going to be like that because I was there to put a spanner in the works. My character was a border officer, and I tasked with a job to basically put a stop to any criminality that's going on. But I failed. I literally failed in the script. I failed to see him. I failed to see John Farnworth's character hiding behind just one box of rubbish in the back of his van. And I'm more concerned about a teddy bear in one of the boxes and having a chat and a laugh with a colleague than I am about finding him and stopping him. So that's why John Farnworth escapes
Your fault.
after having. Yeah, it was literally my fault. Literally. And I am pilloried for it on Facebook. If you ever get the chance to have a look, it's terrible. I had to block myself off of Facebook for a while because I just didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, people really are passionate about this kind of stuff. And so, yeah, he turned up again for this Christmas special called Corriedale, which brought Coronation Street, world's oldest soap, together with Emmerdale. And in there, John Farnworth's character reappears like magic. This time, he wants to kill off someone else as well.
You just knew he was going to come back, though, really.
Yeah, yeah. So this is how they kill him off. Well, I hope I haven't actually destroyed the surprise. If somebody still needs to catch up, I would catch up on Corriedale. It is history in the making for soaps because it doesn't happen very often, does it?
No.
So
no.
yeah, so yeah, that was really privileged, and yeah, I was really privileged to be a part of that storyline, and forever to be remembered as a person who let John Farnworth go. He let a killer go.
Did you say anything? I can't remember. Like what did you say?
Oh gosh, I have to play it back for you, don't I? I've got the link. It's on IMDb of the clip, the scene. I think I sent it to you, but you can have a look. But yeah, you can play that back.
I'll have a read what you said.
Yeah, I literally I want to inspect the vehicle. He gets in, he opens it up for me, and I walk in. And the first thing I do, I open up a box and I'll find a cuddly toy. And it completely destroys any chance that I have of finding a criminal in the back there, because my face lights up and I'm just smiling away and like, oh, isn't this cute? And then I'm getting my colleague over, look at this. And then, yeah, that's all fine. Yeah, away you go.
Yeah.
So they split the scene into two. So we had a cliffhanger in a minute and then an advert break. Oh, is he going to find him or isn't he? And then when we come back after the commercial break, we see me holding a teddy bear.
Did you get to keep that bear?
No, I didn't. Isn't that?
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you keep anything from like Doctor Who or not?
The script. I always keep scripts. I always keep them very, very safe. I keep them.
It's like a memorable. It's like a memory, isn't it?
So yeah, absolutely. I took a lot of photos behind the scenes of Emmerdale and the war between the land and sea. Unfortunately, guess what happened?
What?
I lost my memory card while I was away in Spain on that documentary shoot.
No.
I left it on. It was in a box of memory cards that I keep for taking photos out and about, BTS stuff. And I forgot it in the overhead luggage compartment on the plane. Got out, wasn't allowed back in because you can't, for security, you can't just walk back onto the plane. So I had to go through lost property. But even now, months later, I've not been reunited with that memory card. But if anyone's out there and they do find it somewhere in the UK, it was a very well-known low-cost airline. Um,
Hopefully one day.
you know how to contact me.
Yeah, hopefully one day.
Yeah.
Um, I guess lastly, is there any facts from your experience maybe that you could say, like from maybe like the War Between, like any facts about it, um, or anything?
Yeah. I'm so grateful for all of the production crew that helped me get through the shooting, especially after arriving and then falling ill within minutes of arrival and coming down with the plague, seemingly. And yeah, it just reminds me, I may as well have drunk that water that Barclay was given or handed in that huge chamber room and told to drink it, and that water was fictionally from the river. I may as well have that because that's how I felt. But thankfully, the crew were amazing. They kept me going with honey lemon, which soothed my throat, my voice, and just kept me going. Oh, and the unit director, Louis, who gave me chocolate gold coins
Chocolate gold coins.
after we completed each scene as a sort of a milestone. You're doing okay. You're doing okay. You're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. And yeah, the show goes on, and it must go on. And they helped me a lot. So
Of
I'm just
course.
so grateful for everybody.
Well, it's been so fun, like just hearing about everything, about like the War Between, how much it's been a great part of of
I
everything.
forgot to tell you one funny thing.
Yeah.
In real life, I'm a pescatarian.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Was the casting decision made upon the fact that it was quite humorous to find on my acting CV dietary requirements pescatarian? Oh, he wants a fish meal for lunch. And I did get a wonderful fish meal. Um, how ironic, given the nature of the
Yeah.
story, and what many people call the fish lady.
Yeah, so,
Hilarious.
but was you a threat from the Home Worker? Yeah,
Hilarious.
but that's funny. But you can't help. You can't help what you can have. Yeah. Um. But yeah, I feel like overall it's been like the whole show's brilliant. It is like I said, highlight of this I call it Disney Who, but Disney era, brilliant, and I'm glad that that you really love to talk about it because I love I'm such a Doctor Who fan. I always love getting people on that have been on any sort of Doctor Who media,
Mm,
um, like we had the late Simon Fisher Beck who played Dorian on before.
yeah,
So we've had some really good guests, but
yeah.
you're on the list of good guests.
Oh, thank you so much. I
So
mean, so
appreciate it.
I'm just learning about the fans behind the Hooniverse. They're some of the most loveliest people. I had this 7-page letter from a fan in Southern England who wrote to me, and following the broadcast of the War Between on BBC One, and it was just such a lovely, moving letter. He'd been watching for generations, watched with his kids and everyone, and he wanted to write to me. And I've just been introduced, I think, to this amazing fandom, and yeah, it's just incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're very
And
welcome because
I hope that in the future I'll be able to meet people at conventions as well. That would
yeah,
be great.
yeah.
Love to.
That there is a really good one. It's called Utopia, and it's a really small convention where maybe people who maybe are not major, don't play major roles, go basically. So you'll get a lot of people behind the scenes that make Doctor Who, so maybe a voice of the Daleks and stuff like that. That's a really good one.
Oh,
Um,
guys, if you want me on there, on that guest list, then get right into them. Reach out to them. Tell them you need me to be there.
Yeah, it's very nice. But
Who
yeah,
knows? I could be there.
I've only ever started doing these conventions since 2021. No, it was the year of the 60th. The year of the 60th, to 2022, I think. And my first, funny enough, the first person I ever met was David Tennant.
Wow,
um,
amazing.
and the funny story behind that is I did a video. I basically done a video because if you ever meet someone really like popular in Doctor Who, you're gonna record it. And I done the video, then it goes on Radio Times, and then everyone sees it. So
Wow.
that was quite funny. But yeah, if you ever are on Doctor Who again, be happy to let me know, or I might even see myself. Um, but it's been great talking to you, Waseem,
Thank you
and
so much. It's been really, really great fun talking to you, Mason. I really enjoyed all of it.
yeah, and I hope you have a nice Easter.
Thank you. Thank you. And I hope you get your steelbook order in for the War
Yeah,
Between.
yeah. I hope you get yours.
Thank you. Yeah. Waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Hopefully.
Waiting.
It will get there.
Well, thanks to Waseem, and thanks to anyone else who's watching this and listening. And I will see you in the next episode on the podcast. But thank you yet again to Waseem, and hope everyone has a nice rest of their day.
Thank you, guys.